The town of Falmouth has done a tremendous amount to get renewable energy going.
Our campaign, really is about capturing that voter revolt. The voter revolt really is happening. It's happening on health care. It's happening on the foreclosure crisis. It's happening with our schools, which are losing their funding, and in local aid. But what are we funding? We are funding the sweetheart deals and the backroom deals. $300 million every year alone for the Raytheon and Fidelity sweetheart deals, the corporate tax breaks that were promised in exchange for jobs that were either never created or they have since been long gone. The $58 million for Evergreen Solar. I mean, it's just one after another. It was $32 million for Liberty Mutual the other day for fewer jobs than it's been creating every year in the past decade. Now they've promised even fewer jobs, but suddenly they're getting this big tax break, which is going to cost our schools. In exchange, we're going to have to look at potentially closing schools. We are not getting a good deal, and people are waking up to that, and the powers that be are just quaking in their boots that we're going to have an opportunity to get to the microphone. And I can't help mentioning our auditor candidate, Nat Fortune, who is a municipal official. He is chair of the town's school committee and also their energy committee out in Whately, Massachusetts, in Western Mass. And Deval Patrick was out there talking to municipal officials. And he was regretting the fact that he had to cut the libraries. I think he's cutting a bunch of things, but in particular he was talking about the libraries, which is no small deal. Anywhere. We need the libraries more than ever, especially to deal with the unemployment crisis. How is it that people find jobs if you don't have computer access and web access? You've got to go to the library. So for us to be closing the libraries now is really, it's just a terrible thing. So Deval Patrick was saying, well, I had to close the libraries. What would you have done? So Nat stood up and he said, and he had his clipboard, and he said, well, Governor, I would have cut the funding for Raytheon and Fidelity. I would have put a moratorium on the corporate tax breaks, the corporate income taxes being cut by approximately $150 million. At the same time that we're in a crisis, they're getting even more of a tax break, whereas corporate taxes are very low in Massachusetts relative to other states. We are one of the lowest corporate tax burdens of all the states. And Nat was saying, I would put a moratorium on that, on Evergreen Solar, and he just began to go down the $1.7 billion in bogus economic development, which is all part of these tax expenditures. They're off the budget. They are deals which have been negotiated in the past and which have been broken. Many of the deals have been broken, but they never get looked at again. They have this permanent stature that our schools don't have, our police doesn't have, our libraries don't have, but somehow if you are an economic elite, and you get a business elite and you get one of these little packages, it never comes up for review. And whether you fulfill your job promises or not, you get your tax breaks ongoing. So Nat suggested, well, that's what I would do. I would not be cutting our critical services. To which the governor became very flustered and he said, well, I didn't mean that, I meant, what else would you cut? Because that is the mindset that they have. They have promised to pay back their campaign funders, the powers that be, business as usual, the lobbyists that are dictating our political agenda and our legislative agenda on Beacon Hill. They are running the show, and we're having a debate. Our debate is about whether it will be a slot casino or a destination casino. That's the nature of the debate, whereas the debate should be that we don't need casinos at all. There are good green jobs that are out there that can create all the jobs that we need and the jobs that we want, not the kinds of jobs that are here today and gone tomorrow, the construction jobs that would only be here for a short time. We'd be left with essentially low-wage, high turnover, really very bottom-of-the-barrel jobs at casinos, considered to be some of the worst paying jobs in the world. Average pay is like $13,000 per year for a casino job. And this is what this is how we're going to build an economy. Besides, for every job that a casino creates, the studies show that about 1.5 jobs are lost in the surrounding communities. So casinos are actually very harmful to our small business community. What is it that actually creates jobs in Massachusetts? It's small businesses. So instead of providing the infrastructure for casinos, the tens of millions of dollars that we'll need to spend to regulate them, a whole bureaucracy that has to be created in order to work out this money exchange and to regulate the casinos. Instead of doing that, why aren't we putting that money and that support, state loans, for example? It doesn't have to cost us money to jumpstart the whole green construction industry. We need to completely transform our housing, our government buildings, and our small businesses. It's going to lower prices for families, lower the cost of energy. It will make our businesses more competitive for being energy efficient. And it's good. This is good. It creates jobs. It cleans up the air because we're less dependent on the polluting fossil fuel energy, so it makes us healthy at the same time. They're really good things that we could be doing, but somehow they don't get put on the table.